My mother has an imaging center up there, outpatient center at the Register Center.
Banshee. Oh, okay. Take care of that and then come back. All right. So our first class back at the club after all of our Zoom calls for the last 3-4 months. So glad that we have people back. We've got Banshee, Bandit, and Starman, and the return of Happy after a whole bunch of years.
Yeah.
And we'll work on the nickname.
You gotta find a new one. That one was like, I was my younger self.
Yes. So, all right. So we're gonna start off with a couple announcement things, and we're recording the team meeting today since we've got most of our people not here, so that way I can email it out also. And then after the announcements, we'll talk about some ideas about actions and making attacks and other choices you can make on the strip and how to kind of plan those. So still some of the type of stuff we were covering over the Zoom calls, but this way there'll still be something for the people that didn't make it in today since we're not doing the Zoom call now. So for announcement stuff, not so much for those of you that are here, but for some of our people who are listening at home. The Fairfax Challenge is officially canceled, so that was a large regional open circuit that was supposed to be happening. Had a Div 1A and a Div 2 for each of the weapons and genders, and it was supposed to be back in March. We had a bunch of our fencers who were going to be going. I was taking the weekend off to go, and to coach everybody. We were going to have some of our other coaches there, a bunch of the UMBC guys there, but it was right about the point where everything shut down. So it got postponed for like a month, and then postponed for another month, and then they put up like an August date, and the August date was clearly a placeholder because that would be the new season, and no rocks have been approved for the new season. U.S. Fencing has not done a schedule for the new season, which means the division has also not done a schedule because we need to look at U.S. Fencing's schedule in order to plan ours. So right now, nothing is scheduled for the new season nationally or locally. If anyone was signed up for the Rock, they're saying in 60 to 90 days, U.S. Fencing will do refunds. So the policy that was stated on the site was that if you needed to cancel, you wouldn't get your registration fee back, but you get your event fees back. I'm assuming since they're canceling the event, they will be refunding everything because they kind of have to. It's not like you're canceling. They're not holding it, so there's nothing for you to pay for. Other announcement stuff, we will most likely not be having our summer picnic and camp out. Like we were just talking about that a little bit before the team meeting started. Just the way things are, the gathering size would be above what the recommended gathering size is. Even though it would be outdoors, it would still be kind of close quarters for the number of people that would be there. So I don't. Maybe we get less than 10 people, so one family shows up.
Yeah.
Like
at a time.
Yes. So we'll probably not do that this year. Now we do have at the summer picnic. That's usually where we do our ceremonies. So we would have our initiation ceremony, and we've got some boys that would need to do that, and we might have a knighting this year. So we've got 3 boys graduating. One of them didn't really do lessons. He just liked being here better than his old club, and he was content with that. So he was never really progressing on the chart. And I think since all the COVID stuff, he just decided he was graduating. He's just going to worry about getting ready for school and not worry about coming back. So I don't know if we'll see him once everything's reopened. One of the other ones, he was his lessons were a little bit more focused on competition, and when he was here, he focused a lot more on bouting the senior FA guys. So he still had a lot of chart stuff to do. I don't think he's as concerned with that. But he is back, and he's doing some of the FA bouting when that's happening. And then we have one of our Saber guys who is graduating. He had already made Knight Errant about a year or so ago, maybe 2, and is only got like maybe 3 or 4 requirements left on the knighthood. So he's doing summer camps through the month in order to make sure he finishes. So we will hopefully have him ready to be knighted by the end of the summer before he goes off to college. And what the plan, I believe, for that is we will do the knighting ceremony here instead of at the picnic, which we have not done one at the picnic like for years. Like the last 3 have all been at the club. Yeah. And so with the knighting ceremony, the parents have an opportunity to talk about the boy being knighted. Their teammates have an opportunity to talk about the boy being knighted, and they can say good things, they can say bad things. What I always remind you of is that you're supposed to be honest, but think about what you would want your teammates to say about you at your knighting ceremony. So if you've got something that's not the kindest recollection or not a particularly nice memory or thought, whether it's true or not, maybe it's not the right place to say it. But it's still something I want you guys to think about your character and make a decision about what you say. So it's kind of an open forum for you to talk about your teammate. And then they'll have a point where I, as their coach, talk about them a little bit. So we've got one boy who is probably going to be up for that. And so we'll do that here. It'll be limited attendance. So he will probably have his parents and his sister, and then he will select a couple teammates between the TriWeapon and Sal and UMBC teammates to be invited to be here physically, and then everyone else will have the option to log in over Zoom. And we'll set the computer up so that it can see the ceremony and give people the opportunity to speak via Zoom if they want to say anything about it. Yes, Banshee.
So, who are the kind of kids who are going to do the intermediate?
Who are the kind of kids who are what?
When they do the intermediate?
The intermediate class?
Yes.
Well, TriWeapon is kind of our intermediate class. So, yes. So we have talked about doing some additional competition classes for the fencers that want to be more competitive. Unfortunately, the plans for that were right about the point that quarantine was starting, and so they were a little derailed, but we will be revisiting that. Coach Mike and I have talked a little bit about that. We're also talking about ways to make some more lesson options available for fencers that want to be more competitive. My schedule has freed up significantly, so I can do some earlier lessons than what we were doing before. So if we've got fencers who want to take extra lessons, but the late night time was not good for them, then we can look at like 5 or 6 o'clock lessons. But we'll figure all of that out once we've got kind of things underway with general reopening, getting people in for the standard lessons and classes and whatever else we were doing. See how we can expand things from there. I am looking at setting up some one-day camps on weekends. That'll be a little more competition oriented, and they'll be broken down by weapon. So we'll get some info out on that once we have dates. And I'm also working on a series of coaching classes. The date is basically the main thing we're waiting on to schedule those. And then also working on some coaching classes for people that are interested in developing that way too. So we're going to have some other opportunities for things beyond what we were having before. But that's all going to be stuff we'll address in future meetings once we have some more details. So we were talking about knighting and ceremonies. So the initiation ceremony, we've got some kids like Bandit here who have had multiple years of not being able to make it to the initiation. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it again this year. So when the boys did it for me, we did it at the club. And for Braveheart, because he was moving away, we did his at the club too. So we have done that before. So we could set up, there's not much traffic out in the parking lot because nothing is open. And we've also got that back parking lot that gets no traffic. We could do the ceremony out there one day, like pick a Saturday or a Sunday. You don't get to know the ceremony until you go through it. That's why I had to do it, so the boys wouldn't teach it to me until I was initiated. So we will get you guys initiated into the Ancient Order of Firemen as best we can. So I'll talk with Beefy and some of the other senior boys and see what they think, and then we'll talk with Coach Mike and Miss Kathy and see what they think and figure out with parents how we want to do that. Like if we're doing it outside, then that kind of works because we can space everybody out. So we can have parent spectators that way.
Oh, there's like everybody watching?
Yeah, well, siblings don't get to watch, but parents get to watch. So obviously fencers who have not been initiated on it. Yes, Banshee.
My brother gets on his phone a lot, and I know he will never come. But if we were still having the picnic outside, and at the lake, if we were at the lake, and there was no service, find the book, come over here, do whatever you want.
Okay, Banshee.
He never comes to
Banshee,
anything that is
Banshee. Let's not derail everything. Because we got other people who are going to be listening at home too, and they probably want us to stay on what we're talking about. So, so we'll figure out the ceremony stuff and how to get that done, so you guys don't completely miss out on that. Some of it might just be postponed, and if things get to a point where we can do a gathering safely a few months from now, and the weather is still nice enough for it, then maybe we'll look at some sort of picnic option then. But I don't know that that's in the cards for this year. So the other big summer thing are summer camps. So normally we just have the one summer camp every year, and we bring in Maria Luisa and whoever else she's bringing from the Peruvian team. This year, unfortunately, with travel restrictions, Maria Luisa cannot come. So we were worried before that she wasn't going to be able to come because she was going to be busy at the Olympics. Because the last I had heard, she was pretty close to having enough points to qualify. There were still like another couple qualification tournaments, but so I don't know if she ended up qualifying or not. But the Olympics are postponed.
Yeah.
So she would have been available, but she can't travel here. So we might do something with the August camp where maybe we'll get her to like teleconference in and do some video stuff with us. I'll see about Miss Kathy reaching out for that. But we've been running camps through July, which is a new thing this year, as we figure people might need something to do during the day. People probably want to get back into fencing after 4 months of being out, and Stretch and I have the time to do them. So, and that's what a lot of clubs do, is they'll do camps throughout the summer. But from what I've seen, because some of my students were coaching some of these camps at other clubs, sometimes it's just like dodgeball camp, or just hang out and do like random activities, and there's no real fencing. Our camp, we're doing a lot of conditioning. We're doing a lot of exercises that are going to get you ready to be a solid fencer and be in the shape you need to be to fence. We are doing a lot of footwork training, and we're doing a lot of detailed blade work training, and a fair amount of bouting. So we're keeping it very fencing oriented, very competition oriented. But we also recognize, since we're doing multiple camps, and some people are doing multiple weeks of camp, we're not going as intense as we do at the August camp, where after day one you're going home and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't move, everything is sore. So the August camp is good because it gets you a lot of intense activity, helps get you tough, helps get you the resolve you need for the physical activity involved in fencing. But we're taking a little bit of a different approach this year since we're doing multiple camps, so it's a little toned down, but it's still a very serious camp. And we still got a good balance of games and fun time as well. So everybody who was there this week had a lot of fun. Food is a little different from what we had in our August camp, but everybody has been pretty excited because the food has been pretty awesome. Yes,
Are you
man.
still gonna be cooking bacon?
That's at Halloween. Yeah, the pancakes and bacon are Halloween. So, all right, see you, Banshee. So, for the July camps, we still have some space for this week's camp. The third week is almost full, so we can fit 1 or 2 more people on the third week. We might be able to be a little flexible on that if we've got some other people that really want to come. See you, Banshee. And the fourth week has got plenty of space. We have not put up week 1 for August yet, but we will do a camp that week because that's our normal summer camp week. And then the rest of August, we're still trying to decide. Stretch and I are kind of hoping to do camps, I think. So Stretch just nodded. So yes, Stretch and I are hoping to do camps and throughout August. I know we've had a couple UMBC kids have asked about them, and a couple TriWeapon kids have asked about camps through August. So I know there is some interest. I want to make sure we have enough interest that it makes sense for the campers and it makes sense for us to be there. So we'll probably reach out to people to see how much interest there is for multiple August camps. But I see no reason not to do them as long as we've got at least 5 or 6 people that want to do camp each week. So that is pretty much it for camp info, except again for the July camps, super discounted below what our normal price is for camp because we want to help people out. Like we do need to charge for the camp because there's expenses involved with being here and also specifically with running the camps. But we've tried to make it as low as we can. We've basically gone back to the camp price from like 8 years ago on the August camps, like almost maybe longer than that. Because like basically it's the price from like the first camps we were running almost. So we really wanted to make something that's easy for people to do, especially in the way things are now. So get signed up for those if you're not signed up. I know Bandit here signed up for at least 1 week. Happy was asking about them a little bit ago. Starman said he's going to talk to his dad. So, we'll see what we can do about getting a couple more people in for that. But we also don't want it to be overfull. We want to keep the numbers low so everyone feels safe and comfortable. And we're still making sure to address stuff like that throughout the camp. If anyone feels that anything seems uncomfortable or seems safe, we're trying to make little corrections and make sure everyone feels good on that front. I guess tournaments are the other thing to talk about. I've sort of mentioned it earlier with U.S. fencing not having scheduled anything. The normal process is Maryland Division has a meeting. Usually it's by phone. A lot of times Coach Mike and I'll get together and call in, and maybe like 1 or 2 other people meet up with us and call in, and everyone just kind of does a conference call. And we'll talk about the process for scheduling tournaments, and then all the clubs send in their requests, which are usually based on an original like proposal document based on the previous year's tournaments, and anything that needs to be added or changed. We have somebody who goes through and coordinates all of that. Frequently it's me. And then once that comes out, then the clubs are all like, okay, that looks fine, we're happy with it, or well, this is a conflict, we need to change it. And then as long as everyone's like, yep, this is all right, then our tournaments are good, and we have a tournament schedule. And really that should be done around May or June, so that the schedule is out by the end of June or the beginning of July. Typically, I have to remind the division that we need to do it, and so it gets done sometime late June, early July, sometimes not approved until just before August, sometimes not approved until after the beginning of August, when the tournament should be starting. This year, there's no real fault on the division on that. We can't really make a schedule because we don't know what the U.S. fencing schedule is like, and most of the clubs are barely operating yet. So there's no real reason to expect them to be able to say when they want tournaments. But as clubs start to open, I will try to reach out and see if I can get that going, because U.S. fencing is allowing local tournaments to happen. So they will sanction tournaments, so we can hold tournaments. Tournaments have to be held within whatever the local limits are as far as people go. Since gyms can do 50% of their capacity, and we are looking at our capacity as 50 people, then we can hold an event that has up to 25 people, including any refs or coaches. So we just wouldn't allow spectators at the event. It would just be the athletes, the refs, and the coaches. So that's enough that we could hold an A1 or a B1 or a C1 or whatever, as long as we have the right graded people show up, because you only need 15. So we could hold tournaments, we could hold decent tournaments. Now, really, we know from Wolf Moon that you can fit 60, 70 people in here, and a tournament can function, and it can be fine. So our capacity is really a bit above that 25 as far as a 50% capacity, but we are using a conservative number because we want to be cautious. We want everyone to be safe. So we don't want it to be filled to the gills. So we're going to keep those lower numbers. But that still allows us to host tournaments, and probably better than a lot of other places would be able to, because we've got more space. So We may host some small stuff as the season starts, assuming the division is willing to sanction tournaments. But U.S. fencing is willing to, so it is an option. Another question on that, though, is how many people are going to be willing to come out to one. So if it looks like nobody's ready to start attending tournaments yet, it may not make sense to do that. But we'll figure all of that out. But I know people are curious about that. I've had questions about it. A lot of them have been from the UMBC kids. But I know there's some of the TriWeapon boys that have made camp this week that are looking for opportunities for ratings. And so they were wondering about tournaments too. I'm sure some of the parents and fencers at home will be wondering as well. But it's all up in the air now, is the short of it. All right, so that is, I think, it for announcements, unless anyone has any questions. Stretch, anything I didn't cover that I probably should have? Yeah. Didn't really talk about reopening because we just had a big email that went out about reopening. And I don't have a ton of more detail to add to that email. But you'll just get stuff over email about that. Pay attention to your emails. When they come out, Stretch or I will probably send something out over the Discord to let you guys know that it's there and to make sure your parents know that it's there. And you may get some repetitions of the emails just so we make sure everyone gets them and sees them. All right.